he voted for funding the war. Or
voted for funding the war. But, I mean, for everything he's done, his supporters have some excuse.
Yeah.
But, you know, it'll be different when he gets into office. Well, maybe. I hope so. But we have only, if we're judging on the basis of evidence, it's quite consistent. And the same is true of his appointments. I mean, his first appointment was Vice President Joe Biden, who is one of the strongest supporters of the war in the Senate. And in fact, an old-time Washington insider, so much for change. His next appointment was Rahm Emanuel, who was I think the only member of the Illinois delegation to strongly support the war. He also, Emanuel, his background is in investment banking, and he, I think, receives more funding from the financial and securities industries than anyone else in Congress. And in fact, Obama's campaign was largely financed from the same sources. That's Rahm Emanuel. In fact, Emanuel was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal and asked what he would do. He's got an important position. He's chief of staff. He sort of organizes. Obama gets to see what he does and so on. So he was asked what he would do about what the Journal called the left-wing barons, like Barney Frank, who were calling for cutbacks in the military budget, modifying tax structure for renewable energy and so on. And he said, well, we have a pragmatic administration. Obama will be able to take care of the left-wing barons. It goes on through his economic policy. And the economic policy of the opposite. His advisors, main advisors, are the people who created the current financial crisis from the Nick Clinton administration. And it just goes down the line.
Well, that was...
And his national security advisor, James Jones, is super. Thinks we should extend NATO to the south and east. NATO should have its own intervention forces.
Yeah. Well, the other question that I want to ask you, and I think you kind of touched on it, is that Obama, when he was campaigning, he received a lot of support from big corporations and special interests, and I'm just wondering how much influence do you think they will have on his policies as president, or, yeah.
Well, the final figures aren't yet in, but the April figures, if I recall correctly, showed that he got about a third or more of his support from financial industry, from the financial industry, the Mercury branch of it, and a lot more from what they call law firms, but that means mostly lobbyists. There's pretty good evidence that funding of an election is a very good predictor of policy. In fact, there's a theory about it by a very good political economist, Thomas Ferguson, she calls the investment theory of politics. And the basic idea is that what we call elections are occasions in which groups of investors coalesce to invest to control the state. And he's done extensive work on this. His work will be coming out on this election soon. And it's a very good predictor of policy going back a century, including the New Deal and so on. So I think it's fair to assume that there'll be a substantial influence. And you can tell from his appointments. Yeah. And they come straight out of financial industry. Robert Rubin, who was Treasury Secretary under Clinton, who lobbied to demolish the Glass-Steagall Act, which protected commercial banks from risky investments. He immediately quit the Treasury Department and became the director of Citigroup, where he personally benefited from the breakup that he lobbied for. That's a violation of the Government and Ethics Act. He should be going to jail. His successor, Lawrence Summers, who's Obama's other advisor, was responsible for blocking regulation of exotic financial instruments, another part of the crisis. Actually, one good economist, one of the few who actually was on top of this all the way and foresaw it, Dean Baker, pointed out that Obama's appointments are like picking Osama bin Laden to run the war on terror. Maybe it'll change, but who knows? But all we have is the evidence that exists.
Pa kite mwen sou soif mwen. Dormi, dormi, dormi mbasa dormi vwe. Tante, tante, gale ki jon tante we. Chaque fois la kou première fois. Ti bo pou le po bouche mwen.